Start again. Welcome to Telstra's Connected Communities Round 3. 2025 Grant Seeking Workshop. My name's Danielle Griffin. I'm the Philanthropic Services Manager for FRRR, and Jane Crane will also be presenting today as the Philanthropic Services Grants Officer. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge country. I'm coming to you today from Narooma, which is on Yuin country in southern New South Wales on the coast. FRRR and Telstra acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. And, I welcome you all on whatever countries you are on in joining us and acknowledging where we are. So a little bit of housekeeping. Please mute yourself and silence phones, etc. A link to the recording of this presentation and a PDF of the slides will be emailed to all registered attendees within 48 hours of this presentation. Please put questions and feedback in the chat. We appreciate all your comments to help us help you, and we will be providing a question time today to allow you to share your thoughts, and if there's things in the chat, then we can bring those up or also answer them while we're going through. A little bit about FRRR, if you're not familiar with us. The Foundation for Rural and Regional Renewal is the only national foundation in Australia that's specifically focused on ensuring social and economic strength in remote, rural and regional areas. We work with government, philanthropy and community to really understand the needs of those communities and support community-led work and invest in that work to enhance and support thriving communities across Australia. Telstra is Australia's leading telecommunications technology company with a full range of communication services. They've proudly been at the forefront of technology for 100 years. And as digital technologies grow, they continue leading the way. We're really excited to be in the third year of this grant that's really supporting, the gaps in access to technology and also people's capability and learning and access to information that supports them to be connected and to participate in the digital future. So through it, we are together hoping to build a connected future so everyone can thrive. This is the third year of the grant program. There's $200,000 in grant funds available for remote, rural and regional communities across Australia to enhance livability. The grants opened last Thursday and they will close on Thursday, the 20th of March at 5 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time, just to keep that in mind. We will announce funding in late June. The grants are up to $10,000 and the projects should be completed in July 2025 to June 2026. So you've got about 12 months to complete your projects. We are funding a broad range of projects through this grant program. Really, it's about what communities come to us and talk to us about with regards to their needs in regards to digital technology and how that can actually help them. We put that under three key headings, which is livable communities. So we know that if people have the skills, digital skills, they can better access information and tools that support them to live, learn and work in the way our society operates these days, and activities that might enable that are training and workshops, or alternatively, actually the equipment that supports people to participate. Additionally, sustainable communities. We know that things can be done more effectively with digital technologies. And we also know that we can reach quite a broad range of people and be really inclusive in the delivery of projects. So for that perspective, we're interested in projects that improve and enhance community engagement and education in ways that support the ongoing wellbeing of people, place, and the planet. Finally, resilient communities. Resilience is very often spoken about now in regards to disasters, and this is ensuring that communities are well prepared and socially connected for disasters, emergencies, many of the things that might impact or disrupt that community. So really making sure that there's capacity and capability in communities to connect digitally in and out of disaster times. I really encourage you to read all the grant information about eligibility and the specific criteria before you start your grant writing. You must be a not-for-profit. The project cannot be for private or commercial gain. Have an ABN or be incorporated, or partner with an organisation that has these requirements. So we do accept applications from potentially individuals or private organisations that are partnering and are being auspiced by a community organisation that is a not-for-profit. All projects must offer a clear public benefit, be for charitable purposes, and address a real need in the community centred around improvements in digital literacy or capability. The project is to support not-for-profit organisations in remote, rural and regional Australia. So what we're really looking at are community-led projects that will be delivered locally. We understand the scope of digital technology. That often means, websites, and that may be accessed, right across Australia from the city to the country. But we are specifically looking for projects that will benefit people that are living in remote, rural and regional Australia. We are conscious that peri-urban communities that are located, on the boundaries of metropolitan or what we call RA1 locations sometimes do have issues with connectivity or even access to digital technologies and training. So we are willing to look at, those organisations that might apply from those communities, and very happy to discuss their eligibility in regards to applying for this program and support through this program. As I said earlier, we will foster a broad range of projects that support livable, sustainable and resilient communities. It can be equipment or training, equipment that enables digital equity, new technology to build capacity of community organisations, projects that provide digital tools to support communities' adaptation. So this may be, tools that can measure, different things in the environment that support people to make better informed decisions in regards to planning. Also, things like cybersecurity. We know that many people aren't feeling confident in regards to their use of technology. So, and also organisations have vulnerabilities as well. So a community organisation may want to upgrade the cybersecurity of their systems, and so we're very willing to look at those kind of projects, but also, training people in the community to understand how to use their equipment in a safe way. Additionally, programs that help communities recycle their e-waste are definitely things that we are willing to fund through this program. So I've got some projects examples just to talk you through, and I think what I've tried to do is select a few that really demonstrate that, the breadth of projects that come about and how people think about it, the kind of organisations we support. So firstly, Clarendon Vale Neighbourhood Centre, they are an agency that is supporting a lot of people that come in to use basic tools for digital support, but also come in just to connect on things and, even have a coffee. The things they got was laptops for their volunteers, access to software like Microsoft Office, and training. So they could really use those new resources. And then I love the way they told us that they delivered that knowledge into the community and really, boosted the livability of people to actually access and interact with all those systems like MyGov and Services TAS. And a really important thing was making sure that staff and volunteers were trained to do that. And then what they found was that those staff and volunteers found new ways to apply that digital technology really productively. So, and one thing what they did was run Canva workshops. So I think it's really great to see the aspiration and then the outcome and the imagination that happens, like ripples in a pond. It's just a beautiful example of really how digital technology can change the way the community benefits. This one is a really specific capacity building example for the Gundir Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Corporation for Health Services that delivers support to over 4,000 Indigenous people in remote southwest Queensland. They're dealing with people in 72,000 square kilometres, about 4% of Queensland. And they really needed to effectively reach them and collaborate also with the other organisations that they work with. Their solution was a video conferencing kit, that had high definition audio and video over a secure network. As a result of this, they've saved an immense amount in travel time and have been able to really connect with real-time conversations. And enable staff to recognise non-verbal cues from patients. So really critical to have that telehealth kind of facility there. Once again, a great example of, the immediacy of their technology by embracing the new ways they can do things. That just improves so many different lives and ensures that people have access in remote communities that people in metro areas maybe take for granted a little bit. Another one, and this is completely different as well, is RiverSmart, which is a not-for-profit community organisation committed to caring for and creating awareness of the Macquarie Marshes on the Macquarie River near Dubbo. So, they really wanted to support this digitally with a self-guided audio tour. To showcase the amazing biodiversity of that area and encourage visitors, but also locals to really engage with that. And we know that when we engage with things like the environment, we care about it more and we become more invested in that. And there's just a great benefit both through tourism to the economy, but also for local people to realise just the value of what they have there. So, the funding really supported that organisation to get together with some great audio artists and local people to understand what was possible. And I think it's great if you get a chance to have a look at what was done. It's a really beautiful audio that you can actually tap into even if you're not in the area. But also just some of the challenges in regards to how they actually finally decided to deliver it is always interesting to see. But it's been a really great project, that supported also their local Indigenous engagement and really delivered everything they wanted it to. So, and if we look at this is about sustainability, it's about livability, and it's also about resilience. Understanding the community and the environment you live in is critical. So as we said, you can be delivering activities, events, programs and services. You can be purchasing or hiring equipment and materials. There may be small community infrastructure projects to boost connectivity in communities, organisational capacity building, such as, better equipment or training, sessions and programs, and community resource development. So there is really unlimited scope in regards to what you can apply for with this program. We'd like to just say how to tell us about your project. We're really interested in your digital challenges and aspirations. While, a small number of grants will be given out through this program, it also helps us to tell the story more broadly about what the digital challenges and aspirations are for remote, rural and regional Australia. We share these stories with our donors and look for more opportunities for funding through the stories that come to us about the need. So, and for us, it's also really great to understand what we're funding. So that leads to, why the project has been identified and needed and what the project activity is. Really critically, we want to know what will happen if you do not do this project. So we strongly encourage you to demonstrate evidence of engagement with other community groups, letters of support or surveys that show that interest and engagement that's possible. And we really encourage people, if they're not sure about their project or have some questions, to give us a call. We have people on the phone who have amazing skills and also amazing experience at guiding other people through developing projects or partnering with other organisations that supports them. Just going back quickly to kind of have a look at those example projects and have a look at some of the photos there. We do ask you to submit a photo with your application, and what you'll see is none of these projects are particularly digital, because we're asking for projects that kind of reflect the kind of organisation you are. And what we see is that the technology, we don't really need a picture of a laptop, but we can see here that it's about people. It's really about people, and it's about places and the pride in those places and the ability that this grant will have in helping people to share their stories and improve and build on the strength that's already there. Really important to understand what we cannot fund through this program. So to ensure we reach a lot of people around Australia, we don't fund organisations year on year. So if you did receive a grant in 2024, you're not eligible to apply for a grant in this round. However, grantees from round 1 in 2023 can apply in this round. We don't support core activities of government responsibilities. So we do support councils and other organisations, but if we see that as a real core activity, then sometimes a connection may be more about the local government's responsibility to ensure that everyone has access. So we do kind of put that lens on our assessment. We only fund costs related to the project. So ongoing wages for potentially the CEO or another member of the organisation won't be paid through unless they're actually related directly to the project. Similarly, things like rent on premises and electricity need to actually connect in the delivery of that project. Prizes, gifts, trophies or awards. If you are running a particular program and you want to kind of support people's participation through anything like that, we suggest you look for sponsorship elsewhere. As I've suggested, the projects are to be delivered between July 2025 and June 2026. You've got 12 months. We won't fund any activities that have actually occurred before that. If you've got a staged project and you've finished stage 1 and you're looking for funding for stage 2, and that stage 2 will occur in that time frame, then we're definitely able to look at that and open to funding an existing project that's just going to build on its strengths. This isn't about supporting political parties, lobby groups or religious promotion. It's about broad community benefit and sporting activity. The encouragement or support of sport is not considered charitable by the ATO. We often get applications for digital sports scoring boards, and unfortunately these aren't eligible for this project. So if you are a sporting organisation and looking for equipment and you have a broader community benefit because other people use your facilities, then you just need to demonstrate this through your application and not have it just be about the enhancement of the sport and the people that participate in that sport in your community. So before we go into this, I'm going to stop sharing, have a look at the chat and just have a bit of a question and see where we're at.
There is a hand up for...
Yes.
Yara?
Hi,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you. I was just wondering, just I don't want to waste time with the eligibility if I'm not eligible. So I'm running a software product as a not-for-profit and it's statewide, and I'm worried about it being metropolitan based because they're the richer organizations that can afford the Google API. So regional and remote, the smaller organizations without funding wouldn't be able to use the product. So I've been considering grants that would fund them to be able to access the product. But I don't really, it's not a specific community. So I wasn't sure if how to.
We would need you to identify some communities or connect with communities so you can demonstrate, that they're really wanting it.
Okay.
Kind of understanding the demand for it.
So multiple, I could approach a few of the most for example, Latrobe is the most disadvantaged in Victoria. I could approach.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yep. And I could apply on behalf of, say, the three most disadvantaged. I think it's Central Goldfields, Latrobe, and Shepparton.
Yeah, as long as you had letters of support from community organisations that said that they really wanted this technology and could tell the difference that it would make to their communities, that's fine. Great question.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Anyone else? Business communities count. Could you just talk about that a little bit more, Rachel?
Yeah. So I'm part of the Wheatbelt Business Network. It's a not-for-profit assisting businesses and basically trying to get them the technology they need to stay relevant in the rural areas, given how we're all kind of fighting for survival sometimes.
Yeah.
That sort of community count, or would it need to be more communities-based?
It needs to, in some ways, the benefit to them is commercial to be able to access that. Okay. But look, we will have your email on file. So let me have a little bit more of a close look at it and look at some other examples of projects maybe similar that we funded to see where you might be able to fit in and support your community broadly in regards to that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Carla, you've just asked if a primary school is able to, I think that's apply. Our preference is that the parent PNCs apply rather than the schools, just because the schools are part of the bigger Department of Education and they have to kind of apply under that organisation. And we feel that the PNCs are usually applying for something that's above and beyond what should be delivered by the school. So definitely that's our preference, is to hear from the PNC organisations. Okay, I think if that's all the questions we've got, I'm going to hand over to Jane, and Jane's going to run through tips for successfully seeking grants. So I'll share the screen again. A lot of people find this information really valuable, even if they are already, quite comfortable with grant writing. I think it's always important, and I think this applies really broadly to all FRRR grants. So just understanding how we read and assess grants is really valuable. So I'll hand you over to Jane.
Thank you, Danielle, and hopefully you can hear me. I'm a little way away from my computer. So as Danielle said, this is just sort of broad information that can be used for any program that's hosted by FRRR. And if you've applied before, you'd probably be familiar with some of the information. So I've thought I'd first just run through the process that your application will go through, just so you have an understanding of how it gets treated. So first of all, it comes into our system and it gets validated. And here is where we sort of check to that your organisation is eligible and that all of the required information is provided. And so I guess the key thing to remember here is just to allow plenty of time when you're creating your application to both fill out the form, but also gather all of the information, the quotes and the letters of support, because yeah, they do take a bit of time, and often we get phone calls from people like starting the day before, and it all just gets a little bit rushed. And so much better if you're aware of the deadline and start well ahead. And so then once your application has been validated, it then moves through to the assessment phase. And within this phase, it's not just one person that's doing this process. There's a couple of FRRR staff members, as well as the Telstra team that looks through applications to assess. And then finally, they'll go on to the CEO, who has board delegation to approve the recommendations. So, yeah, during the assessment process, we do use a tool, which is an assessment matrix, which does sound a bit harsh when you put, you know, your heart and soul into these applications, and then we just sort of rank things, but it does help us sort of have an objective eye over everyone's application and sort of remove some of the subjectiveness. So I think it does give a much more fairer way of assessing everyone's application. But so this tool sort of runs through what's the features of your project, being the what, the why, the who, the how, and the when. So you'll see, if you haven't already yet started your application form, you'll see those sections within the form. And so when you're writing about the what, it's important that you describe clearly your project activity. And it's in this section we hope to see the alignment with the Telstra program objectives. I know that's stating the obvious, but not often, but sometimes we see applications that come in and they sort of, the fit doesn't seem obvious. It looks like people are sort of fitting a square peg in a round hole. So yeah, if you don't feel like your project doesn't have a fit within the Telstra objectives, you're probably better off looking at some of the other programs that FRRR runs, because yeah, there is quite a varied amount of programs that we host. So yeah, in this what section, it's really does come across when people get it right and they really have nailed their understanding of what this program's looking for, and their project does align with the key objectives. So yeah, make that obvious in the what section. And so then we're moving on to the why, and here it's all about why the project's needed within your community. And it's also good to sort of summarize the conversations that you've happened beforehand, which have identified the need. And if you say that the need was identified in a study or a report, make sure you do upload that report, or even include a link, because we do like to have evidence of things that people are saying that are happening. You know, ideally we believe everything that everyone says, but it certainly improves the strength of your application if you can provide the evidence. And that also goes for when you're saying this application is supported by so-and-so and so-and-so, and we've worked with these groups in working out the project, just include a letter from these groups, just so we have the evidence to support what you're saying. And then on to the who. In this section, we like to see some information about the people that you are supporting, but then also the people who you are working with to get this project through to your community. So this can include the volunteers, your partners, and then with the beneficiaries, if you're saying that you're going to be reaching, a diverse group of the community, it's good to sort of include some letters from these people, just so that, again, it's obvious to us that, your hopes of being able to reach a wide number of people are evidenced by your connection with these people. So that's my tip for that section. And then the when, where, and how. The when's all about the project plan. In this section, we just like to see that you've had some thoughts about how it's all going to, run through the year, and it's probably shows us that you haven't just come up with this idea and haven't had nutted it all out. It's showing us that you've really planned it, and that you've got, your project management skills are quite good. So that gives us confidence in there. The where, that's both, where the actual project's going to happen, which is sort of sometimes out of your control, so that you can't do much there. But then also, if it's in certain venues, just make sure, if you're not the owner of that venue, that you have provided the letters of support from the owner, so we know that they are across the project and they give the permission for the activity to happen. Some of this stuff does sound very straightforward, but I think some people sort of forget that they need all this with their application, and they might think that we might follow them up for it, but often we don't have the time to do that, so it does need to be provided with the application. And then the next one is just within the budget section. Just make sure that you've considered all the costs and that you've provided quotes for items greater than $1,000. If quotes aren't possible, we're happy to receive the costings behind the figures that you've used. And if the costs go beyond what the grant fund's providing, it's then you have to also show where that extra income is coming from. There's also a spot to list any in-kind contributions that you might receive, and that's volunteer time that's going towards the project, just any sort of time or services that are donated, which aren't actual dollar amounts. So there is a section in the budget to list that. And then the next one is all about the outcome, as in, description of how things will be different within your community because the project has been undertaken, and like where the dot points are saying there, how your life will be improved because of the project, how you'll know whether it's been successful, and that's where you can say that you hope to collect some feedback from those participating. And the hot tip there is think now about how you're going to evaluate, and not just wait till the end, just to make sure that you're able to measure everything you hope for within any of your feedback activities. So that's basically sort of a quick summary of what is in the application forms. So hopefully that helps there, but these are some general tips on writing to make your application come across to us well, and the assessors. So use clear, simple language, assume the reader knows nothing. And one way of making sure you cover that point is just have someone independent of your application read over your answers to the questions, and just ask them whether they have any questions, so then you know to put a bit more detail in that section, because a lot of it is, you might be working on this idea for a period of time, and a lot of it you sort of forget that, not everyone understands what you plan to do. So I think having an independent person come in and just check through, it sort of helps, because then it makes sure you include stuff for us at this end when we're assessing your project. The other points are just avoiding technical language, sort of explain some of the things if that's what your project's all about. Spelling out acronyms, and again, the evidence has come up again. We do like to see any evidence that you have, just so we know that there's a bit of substance to any of the claims that are being listed in the application. And I think that's all on that screen, Danielle. So the last slide is just to say what happens when the assessment process has been finalised and the decision has been made ultimately by the FRRR CEO. All applications will be notified, whether successful or not successful. An email does go to the head of the organisation, which is not always the person submitting the application. But if you keep in mind, we've said the grants will be announced in late June, so just keep an eye out for emails and to the head of the organisation at that time. And if unsuccessful, we do offer a feedback, just to give us a call to just ask for some feedback. And we find that a way just to learn how your application can be strengthened. So then when other grants come up through FRRR, sort of how to increase the chances of your application being successful. So I think that's all from me, Danielle.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jane. So I think what we'll just do is point you quickly to FRRR's resources page. So we've got lots of Grantseeker resources that I suppose elaborate on what we've discussed here, give you examples from other projects, and also some templates, etc., that might support you in your grant writing process. Also, just letting you know that obviously this program's open now. It closes on the 20th of March. If you are looking for another kind of project, there is the Strengthening Rural Communities grant that is throughout the year. We also currently have the Rebuilding Futures grant program open for communities that have been impacted by disasters over the last 5 years, for a broad range of community resilience and recovery projects. And later in the year, we have the Seeds of Renewal, the Nutrient Ag Solutions, and the Community-Led Climate Solutions grant program. So if you're not already kind of subscribing to FRRR's newsletter, we really encourage you, so that you know about these grants. And you never know that what other grant programs might pop up that you will be eligible for and will present a really good opportunity for your community. So that's a thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Thank you for being interested and looking to support your community in this way. I'm having a look at a couple of the questions in the chat right now. But also, if anyone's got anything they'd like to bring up, please raise your hand and we're very happy to take a question from the floor. Okay, Jackie, that's a really good question in regards to not knowing what you need in the technology space. I'm going to have a bit of a think about that. I think that the whole question at the nub of it is what do you want to improve? What do you want to make better? And think about it in that way. Googling's always the way to go. You might be saying you're exploring a digital project that you want to consult with someone. We will, if you're looking at an organisation to get someone in to support your systems to be better, particularly with cybersecurity, but also to make yourselves more efficient and effective, we'll definitely consider that, or also training to kind of upgrade the knowledge, or even one person in your organisation having better capacity and capability in regards to that. So, that could be a grant in itself, that we don't know what we don't know, and we want to build capacity in our organisation so that we understand these skills better. This may be a stepping stone grant, to have someone come in and talk to you about AI, or even access that kind of information more broadly. But let me have a bit of a think as well. And what I'll try to do is put in some links and also maybe some examples. And I'd also encourage people to actually have a look at what's been funded in the past in regards to what other communities have you receive grants for, in regards to, boosters into their local halls, or upgrading their technology that might support you in starting to question. AI is a really great one. So I'll see what resources I might be able to point you to when we send out the slide and the recording here. What type of evidence is required? Look, the biggest kind of evidence we require is you telling us you've got an issue. Your equipment's over 10 or 15 years old and the software no longer works on it. That's just saying you've identified a problem. So you don't necessarily provide evidence for that. What you need to do is provide that we have people that need this, that need to access the latest systems and the latest software. There's people in our community that don't have digital access. So, it may be that you have people coming in and asking for it. We supported a community centre in Broome that has travellers passing through, and they upgraded all their computers because their computers were old and they needed that. So evidence is an interesting thing, but you could even have, you may have done a survey on Facebook in regards to building a new website for your community organisation or for your town. And so it's pretty broad evidence that we will accept and kind of understand. What I'd suggest is always think about what you've got that supports the story you're telling. Why do you really want to do this project? And when you think about that, what will happen if we don't get this grant? I think that's kind of, if you've got evidence to support that currently people in your community are disadvantaged from, or, there could be safety risks or those kind of things with a lack of connection, that's evidence that the grant is needed. Are councils allowed to apply? From Tom. You can apply on behalf of amateur sports communities. As I said, Tom, sports is not a charitable under the Australian Taxation Office. So those activities cannot be directly benefiting those people participating, even if it's only amateur football clubs or netball clubs. If you're actually benefiting people to participate and enhance their sporting ability, that's not eligible in this grant with regards to programs. And that even goes down to the scoreboards for the local bowling club or those kind of things. If that bowling club also serves as a bigger community organisation, then technology that supports them in how community uses that facility is definitely eligible. So councils are definitely allowed to apply, but you must be kind of demonstrating to us that it's above and beyond what is reasonably expected for you to deliver as a local council. Okay, I think we may have covered everything off, and we will go through the chat and make sure that we kind of answer any questions when we provide the feedback. So on that, I would like to say goodbye. Thank you again, and good luck with your application.